It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are back from their adventures in Harlem. They have some tales to tell. We'll also take a look at a last-minute update to Windows. Perhaps it has something to do with this Petya virus. We'll talk about that. Lots more to come next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 524, recorded Wednesday, June 28th, 2017. Dysfunctional Family Circus. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we get together with Mary Jo Foley of allaboutmicrosoft.com, Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com, and talk about all about Microsoft. Two of the best Microsoft journalists in the biz, and so we get to get the inside scoop. Hello, Paul. Hello, Mary Jo. Paul, you look like you're in an undisclosed location. Have you moved, or you're just living in an empty home?
Yeah, it's like a prison in here. It's going to be like this for another couple of months.
He's sitting just for those just listening, he's sitting in a completely empty room except for a torture device over his left shoulder. And other than that...
Yep, I couldn't even hang myself in this room if I had to.
Well, they do take your belt, don't they? I hope so.
Yeah.
And shoelaces, yeah. So back from a wonderful trip, it looked like, judged by your pictures, to Harlem in the Netherlands.
Love that place.
Yeah.
I can tell. Man, I want to go next time with you. The coffee, the beer, the chocolate.
So good.
The
It's
wooden
good.
shoes.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
The coffee
The bites.
shops, the canals.
The bike.
I love the coffee shops in Amsterdam. I haven't really been much out of Amsterdam, but it's so much fun to go to a coffee shop in Amsterdam. For one thing, they're 500 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the history is amazing. It's where finance was born.
But the bad news is, I don't think today let's see. One time I've slept past 5 o'clock in the morning so far. That was yesterday.
Oh, you're still on...
But I have a hard time shaking that. I don't know how well you're doing, Mary Jo, but I don't know.
I was so messed up on the wrong time from Japan and then going the opposite way.
Oh, my God. You must really be...
When we got to Harlem, I just laid on the bed and I'm like, I'm just going to take a short nap. And I woke up like 3 hours later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great, actually. Better than waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and wondering why.
Jet lag is
I know.
such a nightmare. I'm always trying to remember if it's worse. And I don't know
think
if it
it's
is
worse
west to
west.
east. Yeah.
Oh, really? I
Or
feel like
east
it's
to
worse
west.
east.
East to west, I think.
Like
Yeah.
Paul's got it worse because he comes from Europe too. It's easier going to Europe than coming back.
I think so.
Yeah. And people, when I say that, I always say, is that really true? And then people say, of course it's obvious because the sun rises in the east. It should just be obvious. And I don't find it obvious, but...
Okay, but when I come to the West Coast of the United States from here, I actually kind of enjoy that. Like I'm suddenly a morning person.
Yeah,
and,
it's not so bad, is it?
That's not so bad for some reason.
Actually, it's funny because we were in our trip that we just came back from, only a couple hours difference, and then the Galapagos was only 1 hour difference. And I still felt jet lag when we came back, and I think it's just part of it is travel.
Well, distance, my God. You went over the equator, right? You must have gone to the other side of the equator, or not?
Oh, yeah, we went over the equator twice.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
so that's, how long
I
were
got
the
2
flights?
tattoos on my butt, just because, that's what they have. King Neptune comes, and then the sailors give you a tattoo. They told me it was a tradition.
I believe it's a law.
I don't know if your body knows about the equator or not, but
No, but this is the sheer distance.
Yeah,
how long were
that's
you
what I
flying?
mean. I think just flying
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
travel in general is exhausting.
It is.
Yeah, so that's part of it. No matter, even if there's no time zone change, But it's worse.
Yes.
It's actually worse for us in California than it is for you guys. You're only
There's
3
also
hours,
a
5 hours?
phenomenon where you're flying to a place, and because you're still so full of hope, everything is okay.
Well, after last
And
week's
then-
show, I know all hope was lost. So
Yeah, like even when I come home from New York, the 3.5 hours on the train to New York is a wonderful trip, and then the 3.5 hours on the way home is an eternity.
yeah,
And it's just something strange about it.
you don't want to come home. But I think it was really fun. Thanks to Wartel and Joost. Joost, how do you say it? Joost van Schaik.
Yes.
for the HoloLens demo, and I apologize for asking the ARKit Apple question.
You know what? I think it's a fair question.
Well, here's why. Okay, now that he's gone, here's why. Here's why I brought it up. The HoloLens demos don't seem to have made much progress in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, right. So the underlying tech has not changed, right? And they're focusing on this Windows mixed reality platform now.
And clearly what Apple's proposing is a different kind of augmented reality, because, you'd be aiming a tablet at something and looking at it. There's no visor. Right. It's a different kind of thing. But I think it's going to come to market.
I do too. And a year ago when Google first started showing off that kind of thing with Project Tango, I thought, this is it. This is the mainstream use for AR at the time. And of course, the way Google did it, they're limiting this to a certain selection of phones, and there's still only one or two that can even do it. The reason Apple's is going to be successful is, well, A, it's Apple, and B, it's going to work with all of their phones. It's just going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's my real question to Joost was, as a developer, do you look, and he hadn't looked at ARKit, but I think developers are looking at what Apple's libraries offer. And I worry for Microsoft that they're all going to go, oh, well, this is easy. Let's just do this.
It's an audience, though, too, right? In other words, as a developer, as long as you're not tied to a particular platform, if you're interested in doing anything AR, MR, whatever you want to call it, I mean, of course you're going to look at Apple. That's several 100 million people that can run this thing on day one. If you target HoloLens, you are by definition limiting your audience.
Interesting.
Right? I mean, there aren't that many HoloLenses in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, but isn't the holographic platform's going to work with the mixed reality headsets too? So, I mean, even though it's not the exact same thing, it's
also
still
not
like
the
if
same.
you're right. It's not the same experience, but at least if you're a developer and you've made an app for Microsoft's platform, it's not just HoloLens that you necessarily.
But it is today just HoloLens, and on January 1st, it will just be HoloLens and a handful of MR headsets. I mean, it's still a very limited audience. It's still going to be limited, but yeah.
Is it fair?
But bigger than just HoloLens? That's all I meant.
Say, as Torny in our chat room says, that Apple has stolen the lead over HoloLens.
It's people laugh when I say this all the time, but Microsoft gets out ahead of itself. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Microsoft's catching up," but actually, Microsoft gets ahead of itself a lot, and then. Everybody else catches up and passes them, and then you're like, "Wait, they had a head start."
The tablet's a really good example. In fact, we just saw the story of the iPhone, and the original iPhone designers. One of the things they said is that Steve Jobs' wife Florine had a friend who worked at Microsoft on the tablet, and he could come to a dinner party and said how great these tablets were, and this is going to change the world, and it pissed Steve off so much that he came in.
By the way, that story was in the Jobs biography.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was. I thought I'd heard that.
But yeah, but
it pissed him off so much he came into work and said, "Guys, we're going to stick it to these guys." So that's part of it too. Is that at least at Apple, there's this mentality. Oh, we're going to stick it to Microsoft.
Yeah, and it took them, a while to come to it, right? I mean, they looked at the tablet first, didn't work. The iPhone happened. History was made, but. Microsoft's tough because there are these moments in time where they do get out ahead of themselves, like you said, and they take these big chances. And I remember, Longhorn is a great example of they promised the world and didn't deliver any of it. And I was so worried that they would become risk averse after that. And now we flash forward to the future, and Satya Nadella saw the HoloLens in development and said, "Look, we got to bring this thing to market." Yeah. And you want to kind of rally around that, right? There's Microsoft, taking a chance. That's neat.
Yeah. Right. Encourage them. Good work, boys. Keep it up. Keep working on that. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had Don Dodge on, former Microsoft evangelist, on Triangulation on Monday. And he talked a little bit about, because he came with Ray Ozzie, or he worked with Ray Ozzie.
Right.
And how Ray, who was this great genius and inventor and programmer, and we all knew that we were all very excited. I think we talked about this, Paul, at the time when Ozzie came to Microsoft, and then nothing happened. And I asked Don, what happened?
So what? Yeah, why? What did he say?
He said that Ray Ozzie is a brilliant programmer, a great guy. He's a genius. He doesn't play politics. He does no.
Yeah, it was
he doesn't
so
play
much politics
well. And he just couldn't succeed in the environment of Microsoft. You know, the political. But now Don also said that Satya has changed that culture quite a bit. But it took. He said, you know, Bill Gates leaving was a big problem for Microsoft because, you know, when the founder leaves and the heart and soul leaves, it's hard. If nothing else, it's hard to attract people. People come to work for Bill, and now he's gone. And then there's this secondary problem that then it was the old guard. You know, you had on the board you had Ballmer and you had Bill, and and it was just challenging to defeat this old guard. And so Satya has really done he was, I think, very impressed. Also had worked with Nadella, and was very impressed with how Nadella had been able to kind of change that culture. Yeah, so. But
I mean, I think we've talked about this a little bit. I feel like it had to be someone else. It couldn't be Steve Ballmer for that change to occur.
So that complete refresh. Yeah.
Credit Microsoft for making it happen. I mean, it was a bold move to make him CEO.
Yeah, sure, and that's the other thing Don said. He said of all the people, this guy was really, and I think this happened. We were talking about this, really low on the list. He was not the first guy you'd expect to take that CEO job.
No, I mean
it was a very good choice, obviously.
But with thinking about Ray Ozzie, you know, I mean, I don't know anything about his, you know, people skills or management skills or anything like that. But the thing I sort of remember from that time was that he enabled multiple projects to compete with each other that were all doing the same thing. And the biggest one was the Live Mesh / Power Sync / SkyDrive at the time / you know, whatever. There were like 5 of them. And the idea was you guys could all compete internally, but also externally. So we're going to ship all these different things that either do exactly the same thing or largely do the same thing. And, you know, the kind of net result of that is that nothing moves forward, you know.
Right.
And it took them a long time to recover from that. And that kind of thing is unfortunate.
And I think that's an example of somebody coming from companies he'd founded, he'd started.
Just from an engineering perspective, it makes sense. But from a actual project management, whatever.
In a big environment. Yeah, I think that makes sense too. Anyway, just thought that's a good interview if you want to hear it. Don was a very interesting player. And
he's still at Google, right?
He's a developer evangelist, a developer advocate, they call him at Google. Anyway,
all the other Microsoft guys. Did Mark Lakowski, is he still at Google? What about Vic Gondrata? Did he leave?
Vic Gondrata, I thought he left.
He did. So that was an interesting story. Came from Microsoft to Google.
Yeah.
He was a strong advocate for social and Google Plus.
He did.
Right.
His career floundered on the rocks of Google Plus, and he has since moved on.
Google Plus today celebrated its 6th anniversary, so I'm not sure what you guys are complaining about.
Ever since everybody left Google Plus, I've quite enjoyed it. It's like a spa where it's just me.
Yeah, you cut out all that crap, and all of a sudden it's not that
bad. And Lukovsky, he left Google a while ago.
He did. Yeah.
He went to VMware. Then now he's working on Mambo Labs.
Mambo.
So he's gone.
Okay.
So I'm told this fish, by the way, is a Moorish idol.
It looks a lot like a betta fish.
Yeah, it does look like a betta a little bit. This is my crazy fish shirt. Do you want to talk a little bit about, it is a story, and it's kind of a breaking story right now. Last week, I heard a good interview on Fresh Air with the author of the cover story on Wired this month about how the Soviet Union was using the Ukraine as a testing ground for cyber warfare. The Ukraine has really been shut down in so many ways. Attacks on the grid, attacks on the elections, attacks on news, and all of it coming, as far as anybody can tell, from Russia, from state-sponsored hacking. Then this week, out of the Ukraine, out of an accounting firm in the Ukraine, a new malware, ransomware virus. According to the story in Wired, the Ukraine has been funding its side of the cyber war against Russia with ransomware. And out of the Ukrainian accounting firm, whether they were, I think it's very likely that they were hacked, not that they perpetrated the hack.
Yeah.
But comes this new ransomware, Petya, which is spreading like wildfire. The big shipping container company Maersk, out of Denmark, had to shut down almost its entire global operations. It's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it takes advantage of a number of flaws in Windows, several discovered by the NSA. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank God for those backdoors.
Wow. What would we do without them? So do you want to talk about that and what maybe people should do?
We didn't want to talk a lot about it because it's being covered in a lot of other places. But the one thing I had a lot of people ask me in the past couple of days is, well, can you, if you've already patched for WannaCry, does that mean you're totally safe? And the answer is no. And the reason is, if there's even one computer on your network that's not patched, you're in trouble. So everybody keeps saying it, but I guess we should say it one more time. Patch everything on your network. Everything.
And that's hard if you're, a hospital as example, and you've got XP running on an X-ray machine. You may not be able to update it. So just disconnect from the internet, I guess. I don't know. It's not an easy answer.
No. And I don't know. I don't think we have a lot more to lend to the conversation. No. I mean, it just is like, okay, guys, we know we've said it before, but patch, and one guy yesterday said to me, I thought we were all patched, but now it looks like somebody who's patched has got it. And it's just that weakest link argument. So just make sure you're patched. Zach Whitaker, who works with us, he said, you know what? The flaw was patched, but there's always one, right? There's always that one machine or the one person, right? Yeah.
And this is a breaking story, too. I mean, this is going on now. So there's probably more to be said about it, and we'll cover it more on our shows and so forth. But most of the exploits that this Petya and its variants take advantage of were patched in March.
Right.
By Microsoft.
Right. But which is what makes it an ad for Microsoft's rapid release mantra. I mean, they couldn't have asked. It's like a wag the dog kind of thing. We'll find out Microsoft was behind this. Just for that I told you so moment. This is why we want everyone on Windows 10, and we want you to be kept up to date.
And then, of course, the German email company that the hacker was using for the Bitcoin. So you'd email him, say, I paid my Bitcoin. Here's the payment. Please send me my... They shut down the email account. So even if you thought you'd pay, and by the way, it's at least 20 people had paid the last time I checked. You won't be able to get a hold of the guy. So the whole thing is just it's a global mess.
It's a mess.
Global mess. And at least one hospital was shut down by it. So.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah.
So another thing that happened last week.
It's been a week of good news.
It's been really interesting. This Windows 10 source code leak. And I meant to talk about it on Sunday on Twit, but I think it's better to talk about it with you guys. Paul, I think this is not the first time we've seen, right? This has happened before.
I had to go back, and I love, I'm so old now. I go back and read stuff I wrote 20 years ago, and I can tell I wrote it, but I don't remember it at all. But back in...
it was another Paul. All those cells have been refreshed.
Yeah, so I want to say the last one was 2004-ish, but it was Windows NT and Windows 2000 source code leaked, whatever year it was. It was a long time ago. Yep. And that was like legit source code for Windows. In fact, I, at the time, looked at the source code, and you saw files that had been created by David Cutler in there, for example.
Wow.
And so that was the real deal. This is not as big a deal as it sounds at first, because, of course, anytime you hear the phrase Windows source code leak, it sounds, oh, my God, this is crazy.
You mean I can compile my own Windows?
Yeah, not exactly. You could compile a device driver if it was for USB or storage.
It was like OEM code, right?
Yeah. Microsoft shares source code with its partners already, and it was part of that. And so it's not the core part of Windows. It's just some drivers. And there was also some discrepancies about the size of the leak. I don't know if it was the Register or one of the UK blogs had said something like 32 gigabytes of, terabytes or whatever it was. Terabytes of Windows source code. And it's like, it's more like 1 terabyte of source code, or what, and then the rest of it was like Windows Insider builds that had never been shipped to the public, because there is a weird subset of our little group of community here that like to collect the builds.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it showed up was a site dedicated to the community for beta collectors, beta archives, which I think
beta
cracks
archive.
me up.
It's like like digital clutter.
I had a friend many years ago. He opened the door of his closet, and it was literally, this is a full-size closet filled with floppy disks. And he said, I have every this was many years ago, every Mac program ever released, I have in this closet.
Oh, no, I had for many years, many Microsoft pre-release and release versions. I went through my own stupid phase of collecting stuff that's stupid. But I don't do that anymore. So,
it's digital hoarding. It's exactly what
digital
it is.
hoarding is taking it to a new level. But you know how the Windows Insider program works. Every week or so we get a build, and Microsoft makes many more builds internally. And I guess what these things were internal builds from various paths that had never made their way out to the public. And so you never know. There might be some little tidbit in there, some feature they were testing in one branch that never got out to the public or whatever, that never made it into the product. And I don't hear from these people that much anymore, but for a long time, and I mean fairly recently too, I would hear from people who wanted very specific Longhorn builds because that build supposedly had this super secret feature that was going to make everything different. And if Microsoft had just done this, the world would have been a different place, And
the one thing that was in the leak, though, there was some ARM specific kernel code, they said, and that's what we haven't seen, right? Like that hasn't gone out publicly at all.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. It's probably just a bunch of if-else's, compile for this platform.
I presume, though, that people are going through that. People are going through this.
I would bet
looking
people
for
are.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing so far, and it's been.
But
a
you know
while.
what? I'm still curious. Right before this happened, Microsoft had a couple of guys arrested in the UK for trying to hack into their systems, and then we get the source code leak, right?
I think these things are related.
You do? I do too.
Oh, yeah.
I think they are, but Microsoft hasn't said they are. But my guess is they are.
Yeah, I was saying to somebody, maybe Brad or somebody, I don't know how it works in the UK, but had that happened in the United States, I feel like this would have been fully disclosed at some point. And I bet it probably will be in the UK as well. But I don't know how their laws work, so we'll see. But at some point, they're probably going to have to go to trial or something. I have a feeling we'll hear this story someday.
It's got to be, it's got to be a vendor.
It's got to be. Yeah. The timing was so okay, they arrest these two guys, and like a day or two later, the source code is up on Beta Archive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see.
It's always those guys in the UK. Yeah. What is wrong with you people?
I did just, by the way, after we started talking about Petya, I thought, I just did an update. And I did get an update, but I don't.
Oh, yeah. We should talk about that.
Does it say enter Bitcoin here?
It's cumulative update 4022716.
Yep.
I think that's new today, right? Is it?
As of yesterday.
It's not a Patch Tuesday update.
No, but we're in perpetual Patch Tuesday now, Leo.
Are we?
And
interesting.
This is the thing. I've been lashing out a little bit about this lately because one of the big promises with Windows 10 was that the patching was going to get better, that we weren't going to have to reboot as much. Remember, they talked about this a lot.
Yeah, rebooting. I had to reboot. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. And they've changed the entire way that Windows updates itself. And I mean, not the fast ring. I don't mean Windows Insider, but just being on the production version of Windows 10, you will be forced to reboot your computer at least 2 to 3 times every month. And I don't know. I just wish it was a little more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what came out this week, like you said, it's not a Patch Tuesday, but it was a whole bunch, like a lot of fixes and updates to various issues, all different kinds of issues. It went out to all the RTM builds. They all got their own of Windows 10. Yeah. They all got their own patches, and they weren't security updates. These were feature updates, like fixing a memory leak, modem dial-up failing, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And so why did it come out yesterday?
They weren't like new features. They were...
No, they weren't.
What they call quality fixes or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so by the way, it was interesting how you just said that. You said it wasn't a Patch Tuesday update, but you know what? It actually was.
I know,
it just didn't happen
Tuesday.
on Patch Tuesday. Well, aside from the date, it literally was the second cumulative update that we've received this month. And normally those things do go out in Patch Tuesday, but many months. In fact, I didn't look, but I would bet half the month so far this year, at least, they have released at least 2 in a single month. At least half the months this year, I bet. Probably more.
Yeah, to look at it with a silver lining view, you could say, hey, it's really good they're keeping Windows up to date and fixing all these broken things.
That's kind of my attitude. I don't mind them updating. I really don't.
All right.
No, really. Like,
please do update
if you're
Microsoft.
One of these people, if you're one of the people
allow me to share with you one of my great memories.
Eeyore.
Bill Keane.
The glass is half full, Paul. Really, honest.
Okay, so Bill Keane, who used to write the Family Circus, the most reviled human being ever
here we
walked
go
the earth.
again.
I think I've told the story, but
no one has ever emailed to defend Keane.
No, because he is a horrible human being, probably roasting in hell right now. So he has one of his cartoons. It was a single pane. It was 2 panes, I guess. 2 little kids sitting on their knees, looking out the window over the back of the couch, and an ambulance is racing by. And the first kid says, "Oh, I'm so sad that person needs help." And then the other kid says, "Oh, I'm so happy that person is getting the help that they need." There
you go. See, Family Circus. It's perfect.
That was the moment that I wanted to slip my hands around the man's neck. I don't know what it is about that kind of thing that makes me just cringe. But yes, right. Obviously, we're being kept safe. I guess what I'm saying is I accept the fact that this is inevitable. In fact, I believe that the legacy nature of Windows is what makes the frequency of these updates required. I think that's part of the problem. But I guess what I'm asking for is I just wish that this system could be more sophisticated. In other words, that it could somehow update itself in place and not need to reboot. It could just keep running like a modern OS.
Yeah, but it depends what you're I mean, if you're updating a driver, you're going to have to reboot.
But why?
That was their goal, though. You're right. I mean, they did say our goal is to minimize reboots. Like, that's a stated goal of the team.
But you can't always.
Well, but real world, we are rebooting more than ever.
Yeah.
And I know we're rebooting more than ever because we're safer more than ever or something, whatever.
I got an idea for a new feature on this show. Our Family Circus cartoon of the day. Don't worry, she's telling her little brother, they're not going to rain on you. Those are friendly clouds.
The only thing that could make this cartoon better is if that little kid was Brad.
What? Okay. So I'll get a theme song made and we'll start doing that just to make Paul crazy.
Thank you. And thank you for the ongoing series of things that pop up on Windows Weekly because it makes Paul.
Yes.
Ooh. We should make a little Family Circus thing pop up.
Oh, God. Yeah, have the 2 little kids looking over the back of the couch.
Really want to do that?
Don't worry, that man won't hurt you. He's just
one of them will say, I'm happy because Mary Jo's happy. And then the other one will say, I'm happy because the reason Mary Jo's happy is because Paul's not happy. It'll be the same kind of thing.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So, I'm with Mary Jo. Half glass, half full. It's especially with, I think we're starting to live in this era where it's getting scary. These hacks are getting really kind of scary. And I kind of is reassuring when I see a Windows patch come through.
XP doesn't get updates, right? I'm going to run that.
But none of these are security fixes. Right?
Oh, they're not? Well, why would they do an out-of-band fix? No, it's a security fix. They don't want to say it. It's got to be.
There could be security stuff in there, but
maybe
we're only 2 weeks away from Patch Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm telling you, this is the new normal. You got to just get used to this.
Yeah.
Insider build 16226 for Redstone 2.
I think this happened when we were still away. Is that right? Or how long have we been home? I can't even tell.
No, it did happen while we were gone.
Yeah, so I didn't install it until after we got back. And you may recall that the build before this was literally the biggest build of the Windows 10 Insider Preview that Microsoft had ever shipped. This one is not quite that big, but actually there are a bunch of new features. Microsoft Edge once again was a kind of the primary what's the word?
Beneficiary.
Beneficiary.
Thank you. In case I'm losing it. But Nothing that I would call incredibly major, other than the fact that it had a problem before with closing tabs where there was an open dialogue, and now you can actually close any tab. But that alone is worth updating. They've made small improvements to the emojis, to the OneDrive files on demand feature, touch
just
keyboard.
in time for the Emoji Movie. Can you believe they're making a movie out of emojis?
Yeah.
I guess, emoji updates are a big deal.
It seems to be with this release, for sure.
But it's not just Microsoft, right? You know this.
No, it's not.
Apple talks about this. Google talks about this.
No,
emojis
it's all people
are the
really
biggest
care about. Yeah.
It's
what's happened in this country. The whole world is
Mary Jo
crumbling around our
retires.
heads, but we've got funny little icons on our keyboard.
Yeah, no, ZDNet one day is going to issue a directive that all blog posts are going to have to be in only emojis, and that's going to be the end of it.
Yeah. Then I will retire. You're right. That'll be like, okay, we're done. No, there is one feature in that build from last week for IT pros that was worth noting. They're retiring the SMB1 networking protocol, right? And this is part of this build.
Yeah, well, that was the problem with WannaCry, was SMB1.
Yes. Right.
Okay, good. Yeah, we should get rid of that. That's,
right.
That's not.
There's a whole, in Microsoft's blog post, there's instructions for IT pros about what you should do if you are using SMB1 and kind of how they're planning to phase this out. But this is something that showed up as a flash in that build. So lots of emojis, lots of pen, ink stuff, and SMB1.
Yep.
What did I read about that's going to be in the update to the creators this fall?
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk more about that.
That was a big one. Okay.
Further down
That's
in our
further
notes.
down. All right, I want to get out of order. Paul and Mary Jo have spent many hours crafting this final
Paul,
note.
actually.
Many minutes.
Paul did, not me.
Several
I gotta
of
thank
minutes.
you, because you do a lot of work for the show, and I know it's not apparent to people listening, but you really, no, you do. You put a lot of effort in this, and I'm very.
We've already overstated this way too much.
Yeah.
MS testing out a staged rollout to insiders with slow ring.
Oh yeah. So this came up yesterday, and I'm a little puzzled still about exactly what the end result of this is. But
I'm super disappointed to hear that. Sorry to interrupt, because I was hoping you were going to explain it to me.
Okay, good. So we're both on the
knows.
same page here, right?
No one knows.
Because I also am super confused.
Well, explain.
Okay.
Explain.
Okay,
to me.
so Microsoft yesterday said they were rolling out a cumulative update to the slow ring, but they said we're going to start changing how we deliver updates. And I think they mean just to the slow ring for now. I don't think they mean to all the rings, but maybe ultimately this is a change for all the rings. And what they're going to do is stage it. So right now, when Microsoft releases an insider build, it's like, hey guys, here it is. Everybody gets it. Boom. But now they're thinking about doing it the way they do updates through Windows Update, which is if you want to go manually get this, here it is. You can get it. And if you don't, we're going to push it to you later.
Right.
So
but why?
Why? Right.
Like, what's the point of this?
Why
In other
is
words,
the question?
instead of testing a feature with a small group of people and then later deploying it to a large group when we know that it works correctly, now we have this thing we've already deployed to a large group of people, and we're going to test it with a smaller group of people too, with something completely different. Why would they do that?
I know. I don't know why. I thought maybe the blog post would shed some light on that. It just says we're trying this out, and it doesn't really say if they're also going to try it out on fast ring.
Right. Oh, that would be very upsetting to people. Let me tell you.
That would be very upsetting. Yeah.
That would mean there's a faster ring and a not so fast ring.
I know. It would just add a whole level of complexity to rings, in my view, right?
Actually, I think the one thing that's been missing from this ring structure is complexity. So I'm all for adding this to it.
It's not really clear from their blog post why they are doing this kind of a staged rollout to the release preview and what the end game is going to be, like if they're going to make it more widely available or not. You really can't tell by reading the blog post.
I got to say, I was really hoping for clarity on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand what they meant by this.
No. But if you're in the slow ring and you wanted to go proactively get that cumulative update, you could have done that. And if you didn't, you could just wait for them to push it to you. There you go. And they said they're gathering telemetry on the results of this to do something with that telemetry.
I'm glad I'm not the guy who has to look at the telemetry and make sense of that.
I know.
I don't think anyone can make sense of it. In fact, I think this is why they have machine learning. I don't think there is a human being that can do
Maybe
this.
That's it. Thomas Sakar said, let the computer do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Checkmate.
Shall we play a game?
Yep.
All right. So are you satisfied now, Paul? Does that fulfill your needs?
Nope, but it's okay. I feel like there is no answer.
Here's the line that confused me in today's rundown. 2 SUSE Linux environments, Linux Enterprise Server 12 and OpenSUSE Leap 42 are now available in newer Windows 10 Insider Preview builds. What the what?
Yep.
They're putting so is this the Linux subsystem for Windows?
Yes.
What is
Remember back
it
at
has
build.
been Ubuntu.
Yes,
Right.
that's what's built in, right?
SUSE is a competing distribution.
That's right. So when the Creators Update came out, maybe somebody knows this, did the Ubuntu environment become a non-beta release, or is it still technically a beta?
I don't know. I think it's still beta. You have to turn on switch on the developer mode and all that stuff. So,
by the way, Microsoft tells me, this is Brandon LeBlanc, he says, it tells both of us, listening to your podcast, we are only testing the staggered rollout to slow. It is a one-time test. So that...
Wow, talk about great. Thank you, Microsoft.
Yeah, nice real-time interaction.
cow.
So I'm sending back
Brandon,
a note
while I
to
have
Brandon.
you on the line, I have a question about Surface
Me
laptop.
too. So Brandon, since you're listening, why?
This is interviewed by Twitter.
Right. Why are you guys doing it? Like the blog post was a little vague on that. Like what is the purpose
What's
of the
the
one-time test? If you want to tweet to us, we're watching for you.
Oh, how funny. Oh, this is funny.
While we wait for Brandon's reply, I'll just mention that Microsoft at Build this year said that they would be shipping other Linux distributions through the WSL for Windows 10, starting with the Fall Creators Update.
Interesting.
They also said that they were going to start delivering these things through the Windows Store, which kind of reminds me of when they delivered the Windows 8.1 update through the Windows Store. I'm not quite sure I understand the point of that part of it, but okay, whatever. Over the weekend, I think it was 2 SUSE. Oh, I'm sorry. They also said SUSE and Fedora Red Hat would be the 2 that were coming. So over the weekend, if you're on one of the latest 2 Windows 10 Insider Preview builds, the one that was just released this past week or the one from, was it 2 weeks before? You can go to the store, search for SUSE, and you'll see the 2 different versions of Linux, which you can get, and we'll add that to WSL, and you can use that for your command environment if that's what you want.
I know. So it's actually Linux distributions in the Windows Store.
This is awesome and weird at the same time.
I know.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
So far it's Ubuntu and SUSE, but it could be others?
Well, Fedora's coming. We know
Fedora's
that.
coming.
And actually, SUSE was one that had on their own come up with a little, not a hack, but just a little workaround to add their own version of Linux to it, back in the day, a year ago or whatever that was. So now it's official. Microsoft's actually going to support this so that you'll be able to choose from different environments.
Hey, I just learned something I think is going to be very exciting to you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Keane, the cartoonist who draws Family Circus, is going to be on a Caribbean cruise. Oh, it's over. You missed it. The celebrity cartoonist Caribbean cruise.
I thought he had passed.
Maybe he passed since the cruise.
I mean, like a long time ago. I thought he was long ago.
No, he's billed as being on the cruise along with the new editor-in-chief of Mad Magazine, but this was last year. So
I briefly lived near him in the Phoenix area and considered visiting him.
No.
But
No. Okay, I'm sorry. I got all excited for you. I thought maybe we could send you on that, and that would be exciting. No, I think.
Okay, so Brandon's shared some more with us now.
Oh wow, this is amazing.
Sure.
Did I say earlier on the show these are the 2 most connected Microsoft journalists in the business?
Well.
Although his answer is still puzzling me. We want to test how we deliver the Fall Creators Update to retail customers later this year. But isn't the way Microsoft already delivers Windows 10 feature updates this way? Like when they come out with Fall Creators Update, they'll say, okay, guys, anyone who wants to go get it. And if you don't, wait for us to push it to you. That's how they do it now, right?
So while we wait for Brandon's reply, let's speculate. Today, what they do is they use a matrix of telemetry to give it to the known good PCs first, and then over time they introduce it to other PCs. It's possible that what he's saying, I mean, this must be completely random, right? Yeah. Did they ever say that it was based on who we thought would be most applicable to get this? I don't. Maybe they're seeing if we just throw this thing out randomly, we might have better results. I know.
That seems more scary.
If only there was some way to find out.
I know. Well, because I kind of like what they're doing with the Windows 10 retail rollouts. I like it that they aren't pushing it to me until all the drivers are known to be good for my machine, and I don't have to guess if I should try it now, right?
It's what you would. It's what any normal person would want.
Yeah. So
I gotta. Part of this show, Mary Jo doesn't know this tradition, is that Paul does tech support with me on my Windows.
It's true.
So I'm sitting here, and this has been a problem for the last few days. The Windows Store on my Surface laptop just doesn't ever seem to want to load.
Yeah. So.
Is that normal? Because I like to install stuff from the Windows.
I wouldn't call it normal, Leo, but there's a thing you can do.
There's a thing.
So
this is why I love this show.
Let me find it on my. If you go, well, first of all,
I was trying to install, by the way, my new favorite music player. We were tweeting about this a couple of days ago. Foobar 2000.
Okay.
you
That's
laugh.
not its real name.
It's his real name, and there are massive fans of Foobar. A lot of people listening, and I bet you the chat room are going to go, oh, yeah, of course, Foobar 2000. It's the best. But it's now in the Windows Store, but good luck trying to get it downloaded. It took me a day and a half because my Windows Store is so Foobar.
So depending on the app, you have a couple of options for trying to get this fixed, right? Because it's the Store app, because it's a core part of Windows 10.
Yeah.
You can't remove it and then reinstall it. Right. So, well, you can, but you'd have to use PowerShell.
You think mine's messed up? Possibly,
but here's something to try. If you open Settings, and you're running you have this Surface laptop, so you probably have the Creators Update. So there's an Apps. Go to Apps. And then in the Apps and Features thing that loads, there's a big list of all the apps. So scroll down to Store. They're alphabetical.
Yeah.
Are you there? Okay.
Scrolling down to Store. Yeah.
Select it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then select Advanced Options, I think it says.
Move or uninstall. Huh?
No, Advanced Options.
Advanced Options? Okay.
And then try Reset.
It's 0 bytes.
There's your problem, Leo.
If the app, really, if the app, I didn't know that. Paul, you're wonderful. If the app isn't working, reset it.
No promises.
It's like resetting the cache or something.
Now, when this doesn't work, well, let's see what it does.
Well, let's see.
Because unfortunately.
What?
Let's see
I'm just glad I'm not running Windows 10S on. Oh, I am. Oh, well, that fixed that anyway.
There you go.
See, this is the reason I have to have this working is Windows 10S. So I must have a bad cache or something.
Yeah, this is, before they added this reset capability, there were some really screwy things you had to do what I just did. It was like a WS, what does he call it?
Right.
Some kind
WS
of
reset.
Shell script. Yeah. It was a goofy command line thing. But
Okay, so you fixed it. Thank you.
Nice.
Sure. Okay, you may now resume the show.
This guy should write a book or something.
I know.
He should write a book.
Sure. It's really the clock is ticking on how much longer I continue to run 10S on this Surface laptop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't believe you held it.
I'm holding off, man. I'm holding off.
What can't you live without that you're like, okay, I just can't do it?
Well, as I mentioned last week, the only two things I miss are Chrome and a third-party email program.
Yeah.
But I mean, there could be other things. I mean, I'm not. If I didn't have the Lenovo, I would be wanting to run Lightroom. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I run on Lenovo.
Visual Studio doesn't work. Hyper-V doesn't work.
Yeah, and Linux, I can't run SUSE on this thing.
Yeah.
And I would say the target audience for Windows 10S should not be running any of those things.
Does not care about that stuff. And maybe Chrome. You could argue Chrome.
Maybe Chrome. Yeah.
Chrome. In fact, I did argue Chrome. Do I have a thing in here about this? Yes. So, yes.
But I mean, it's a really nice laptop. This is going to be.
It's a beautiful machine.
My in studio Windows laptop for this show, so I have I can refer to it.
It's beautiful.
It's really I love Alcantara.
Sure.
You do? Yeah.
Well, until I get Cheetos on it or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a future version will be ventilated and will pipe cool air up through your palms as you type.
My car does that. It'd be like my car seat. I could have a little heater in it or a little cooler.
A little massage. It will actually ripple as you type, so it massages your wrists.
Oh man. Don't give them any ideas. Can I just say that? Okay.
Alcantara.
You could fix
we
your,
have conclusion from Brandon here.
Yes.
Okay.
This all makes sense now that we know this. So the reason they're testing this is because this is going to be the first time that normal users get to test out the differential update stuff.
Oh,
right. So So what they're testing is the Delta updating stuff.
That's right. So insiders tested it for Creators Update, but normal people won't get it until they go from the Creators Update to the Fall Creators Update.
Isn't this amazing?
There we go. Ding, ding, ding.
This is amazing. This is amazing. And by the way, thank you to our new insider, Brandon LeBlanc, who is apparently a Star Trek fan.
Yep.
He is.
Big time. Yep.
Yep.
Nice. He's the senior program manager at Microsoft on the Windows Insider program team in WDG.
I noticed he's celebrating the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, but not the 6th anniversary of Google+. Weird.
Amazing.
Oh, golly, this is a fun show to do.
Two related bits of science fiction.
Yes, it is. All right. But now in all that, I've closed my OneNote. Let me just pop that back open again so we can see what's...
And now that one won't open either.
What's going on.
Yeah.
I might have to reset it.
By the way, for whatever it's worth, although I run into little problems with it, I actually kind of like the OneNote mobile app better than the regular OneNote app. Like this is the rare example of a UWP app that I actually think is really attractive. And
well, as you know, all I've got on here is UWP apps.
Yeah. It's a nice looking app.
So one of the things I talked about on Saturday, and there, there's the different strokes, different folks. Mary Jo, I can't remember. I think she likes no, you like the software, but you don't like the hardware.
Software.
Paul likes the hardware, doesn't like the software. But the real
We're
question,
two great tastes that should come together.
I know. We're talking about the Surface laptop with Alcantara. But one of the real questions for me is, what do you gain by 10S? We know what you give up. Do you really gain a more secure operating system with Windows 10S?
So the answer to that is yes. There's no doubt about it, right? And so you might have seen the stories over the week where people had supposedly hacked into Windows 10S, whatever.
Yeah, somebody put ransomware on it, but he had to jump through a lot of hoops, including escalating Microsoft Word.
That was more of a social engineering attack than it was any technological attack. But whatever, it's okay. The important thing to remember is that this isn't an absolute. You don't go from a horribly insecure thing to a impenetrable, perfectly secure thing. Windows 10 is more secure than Windows 10 Home Pro. Yeah, 10S. Windows 10S. The real question to me is whether that outweighs the problems with it, right? In other words, are the performance benefits, the reliability benefits, and the security benefits of Windows 10S enough to overcome the fact that it doesn't do anything at all? I mean, like it can't run any desktop apps. I mean, it is uniquely Microsoft to have now twice released versions of Windows that cannot run Windows apps. It's just such a bizarre thing. And I think for most people, it's just a non-starter, Yeah, that's kind of what my argument was for the, minor improvement. And I'm not convinced, and I think that it's just a matter of time before we see exploits take advantage of Windows 10S. But I agree, just keeping people from installing third-party apps is probably a value, although, again, as you mentioned last week, that's a setting you can turn on in 10 Pro. Yeah.
So if you want to turn that on for mom or dad or whoever or Bill Keane.
Honestly, I think for a better transition in a way, and this is a setting too. You can put this on a Windows 10 Pro today or Home probably, which is basically, just warn me.
Yeah.
If I go to download something from the internet, throw something up, and if I want to bypass it, let me bypass it. I think that
Apple does that, I'm pretty sure. If you open, in fact, I know they do. When you start and install on an app that you did not get from the App Store, it says, just so you know, these are from a third party.
Web browsers will do this for sites that are potentially malicious. They'll say, look, we stop you from going here, but you still have a way to get through if you want to go.
Microsoft doesn't do that with UAC or something? It doesn't. It does pop up UAC, but people are so inured to the UAC pop-ups.
Yeah, we've right.
Well, No,
this is a different kind of blocker, and I, this came up at Build. Mary Jo, you might remember. We were walking around the show floor, and I don't remember who it was from Microsoft, but I said, you guys, you got to figure out a compromise here to get Chrome onto UWP was what I was talking about at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy kind of joked and said something to the effect of, and again, you might remember the exact quote, but I think he said something like, Terry isn't feeling particularly compromising today or whatever. It was something like that. And
accommodating
we all
or something. Yeah.
We all laughed. But you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, Terry, whatever. But this kind of hard stop with Windows 10s, I just think is too much for most people. Imagine if you could on this system say, look, I just want to run Chrome. Just give me Chrome.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I will follow the rules for the rest of it. Just let me run Chrome.
But okay, so like one of the other unstated reasons for Windows 10s is to push Bing and to push Edge, right? Like this is Microsoft going, can we figure out a way to get more people to try
force people
Edge?
to use it?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. Listen, if you tell me that this thing's more reliable, more secure, has better performance, that's a benefit for me.
Do you notice better performance? I don't notice better
No.
performance.
So that's, that is hard to tell, right? Because I was thinking about your whole argument, Paul, about, okay, so I think if I were Microsoft and I were trying to explain the benefits of 10s to normal people, what I would focus on is the security, right? Because that's a really quick message. You can give it to somebody in like a second. Like you're going to be safer if you use 10s.
And by the way, they get it, yeah.
But if you try to say to them, you know what, there's this thing called system rot. And you know what that means? It means like over time, blah, blah, blah. Then you have to get into explaining more of the intricacies of Windows. That's not an easy message to give. But that is one of the reasons.
Is it? It fixes that.
Well, we don't.
Only because I can't keep installing IrfanView and stuff, right?
It's supposed to fix it.
But this is the paradox, right? So this is one of the links I have here. So here's the paradox. Think about a typical Apple announcement. It could be for any product. It could be an iPhone. It could be iOS. It doesn't matter. They do this every time. We have this new thing. It's a new version of an old thing. That old thing is a piece of crap. You want the new thing. When they do that, they're replacing the old thing. Microsoft is in a weird position because these things are existing in the market together. Yeah. So they literally they don't literally say that this way, but they're basically saying, you know, this other thing we're selling people over here, that's not safe. That has terrible performance over time. That thing is unreliable.
You don't want to say that message. That's what I'm saying.
It's a weird message. And so
it is.
I sort of feel like there needs to be a transition, and it could be technical, or it doesn't have to be technical. It could be the switch. Like I don't understand why I have to upgrade the OS to run Chrome. I just want to run Chrome. I'll follow your stupid rules after this. Just give me Chrome.
They don't want you running Chrome.
And I think
a lot of people would do that.
And I know Microsoft and you guys wouldn't agree with this, but I've always been in the opinion that you should, unless the reason you run Windows is so you can run all that huge
stuff
ecosystem of Windows apps. If you don't want to do that, you shouldn't be using Windows anyway. Get a Chromebook. Now I know Microsoft doesn't like that, but I think that's true.
Well, by the way, I'm sorry, but what he just says is fascinating because think about the two alternatives to Windows 10s. One of them is Chromebook, which is Chrome, that thing that everyone wants, right? And the other one is like an iPad Pro type device where you have an amazing app ecosystem that will supply all the things that you need. Mm-hmm. So why on earth would anyone run Windows 10s? The one thing that looks like Windows but doesn't give you the one major benefit of the Windows platform, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy solution in a way.
Yeah, I think, so a couple things. One is I'm a little surprised at you arguing this to play devil's advocate because remember all those articles you wrote a couple months ago about 10s being the future of Windows?
I do. Okay. I don't have short-term amnesia.
So you, in those articles, as I recall them, you were saying, the reason 10s is interesting is because of the idea that the way Windows gets better is through something like Windows 10s, right? Like more lockdown for security, but also the whole performance thing, system rot thing, all that, right? And if you're Microsoft, the most used application on the operating system is the browser, right? Like everybody's most used app is their browser. Yeah. And do you want them using your most hated competitor's browser? No. And you've got to try to find a solution to get people to go to Edge. And I'm not saying, like, I get it, like that's not what users want. But I'll tell you, in using 10s, I had all the other times ignored Edge. I'm like, Edge, not that good. I don't really want to try it. I want Chrome, right? And when I had to use it on 10s, I'm like, you know what? It's better. Edge is better than I thought it was.
I completely agree with you. In fact, because I can use my my LastPass and I can use my ad blocker, Edge is not, and it's fast and it's.
I mean, Chrome is still my default.
Yeah, Chrome's where all my bookmarks are. That's the problem. Yeah. That's where all my stuff is.
Well, you can get that stuff. Actually, Edge does a very good job of getting your Chrome stuff in.
Where does it get it from? It does. There's no Chrome on this machine. It imports it locally.
So here's what you'd have to do, right? So
I'd have to export
on another Windows 10 PC,
I'd have to export.
Do that transition, then it will sync.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to sign in with Microsoft.
So if you have another computer.
Right.
That can play with Chrome. You open Chrome. I mean, you open.
So let me
Edge,
okay. I just want to address the insane allegation that Mary Jo just made.
That does work, by the way, because I have all my
we're gonna have to get the gong out.
No, I agree with Mary Jo. Go ahead, Paul.
I just wanted to address. I did. I did. That this is the future Windows. This is what Microsoft sees as the future Windows. But we're getting from point A to point B, and there are different ways to get there. My argument is that you can't get there without making a transition. You can't just cut it off. One thing that I keep bringing up Apple for some reason, but one thing that Apple does a very good job of, and some might say an overly aggressive job of, is getting rid of legacy technology, right? This one, Win32 is tough. Win32 is the foundation of Windows. It's the app platform on which all things are made. And so this is a tough one. But I feel like we have these solutions. We're right on the cusp of making this okay. For example, we have AppV-based container support in the desktop bridge that today requires the developer of the app to put that thing in the container. Well, what if Microsoft did that, right? We could bring these legacy apps forward seamlessly for the user, and we don't have to worry about this Win32 stuff anymore. It's kind of locked away because these things are sandboxed from each other. So Microsoft chose a particular approach. I'm not actually saying I have the answer, but I feel like there should be another answer that makes this more of a transition, that makes it less onerous for users, right? And then gets us to that same future. Because frankly, this kind of hard stop thing that Microsoft's doing is going to make people say, I'm not doing this. And they're going to push back, and it's going to push that future off. So I do think that getting rid of Win32 is the future. I think it has to happen. But, I don't know what the figures are anymore, but, in the Windows 8.1 time frame, the apps, the top apps were all Win32 apps, and the top two were iTunes and Chrome. And I think those are the same today. And those are scary apps to Microsoft because they essentially represent different platforms. Yeah.
By the way, I didn't realize this, but apparently Bill Keen's a fan of yours. There is a there's a family circus. Paul's leaving. Two kids, obviously your two children and your dog, say, Paul, why can't you enjoy wholesome comics like the rest of us?
Let's see what that quote should say. That kid's holding a glass, and what he's saying is, my glass isn't half empty. There's a chip missing in the bottom, and now I'm waiting for the internal bleeding to start.
I'm glad Paul doesn't write comics. It would be dark. A dark comic. Thanks to the TriCaster for tweeting that. Photoshop, I think.
It would be the Dysfunctional Family Circus.
Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be good. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I just
no. So anyway, on Windows 10s, I think the jury's out about how much performance you gain by not using Chrome and
or battery life or
Well,
how would you even test this, right? In other words,
because every computer's different. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I could
you
benchmark
can't test
this
it because you can't put Chrome on there, right?
Well, I could
benchmark against.
I could somehow benchmark this and then install Plus and benchmark it. I'm sure somebody.
But I bet the differences would be negligible. It's a real world kind of a thing. In other words, Win32 apps put stuff in startup. That's one of the things they do. They have all these little updaters that are running all the time. Everything is a trade-off. Think about just like one simple thing. Mary Jo, I think you said you have a printer that for some reason Windows 10s can't connect to. I'm actually shocked by that, but let's just say...
I got to retry that, by the way. But
I'm actually really surprised. That should work. But the way that works in Windows 10s is that you get what's called a class driver. It's built into Windows, and you get basic functionality. Basically, any laser printer should just work in Windows 10. It should work for the 99.99% of what everyone wants to do: print in black, white, print in color, whatever it is. If you have Windows 10 Pro and you install that same printer, you'll probably get the OEM driver set, which is whatever it is. It could come from Dell or HP or whoever makes the printer. And that thing has utilities, and it can tell you when you need ink. It can order ink for you online. It can print to the edge of the paper and do photo prints and other things that you can't do with the class driver, whatever those things might be. But there's also a little updater program that's running in the background, and it's checking to see if you have the latest version of that updater, because it doesn't come through Windows Update. It comes from the printer maker. So that's just one tiny example of one way in which a non-Windows 10s computer would in fact run slower, because that little thing is running on your computer, taking up RAM, taking up resources, hitting the internet, potentially impacting your performance over time. But if you extrapolate that kind of out to all the other things that you might be installing, whether you realize it or not, when you have Windows 10 Pro or whatever, I think that's where the differences come from.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, because you could run like video tests in movies and TV, which is a UWP app, and you'll probably get the same results, Windows 10s to Windows 10 Pro, until you install all those other things, you know, that are running in the background.
I guess I just say from a purely subjective point of view, it doesn't feel faster. Now, I think the bitrot argument's interesting, Mary Jo, because maybe that is a problem with Windows machines that over say 6 months to a year, you noticeably slow down just because of all.
Although they've done a lot of work to mitigate that,
and that may be fixed, right?
Few Windows 10, Windows versions. But what am I talking about? I blow away my Windows computers every 3 months.
Right, we're bad. Yeah, we don't. I do too. I mean, nobody.
Right, and I never do. I never do.
You're the bitrot queen.
I am.
Yes.
Can that be on my business card?
That's her Dungeons and Dragons
Wasn't that a Tina Turner
actually,
song?
Leo, I'm surprised you know that.
I'm the gypsy. I'm the bitrot queen. But it's interesting because people are often saying, well, this is RT, but it isn't RT, as somebody in the chat room said, because of the Win32 subsystem and Centennial apps.
It runs on Intel.
And it runs on Intel. So it's somewhere between RT and a full-blown version of Windows.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be interesting to see. I don't think Mary Jo's far wrong when she says it is a showcase for Edge. And it's really about that.
I think that's what it is.
And it's in that respect succeeded because, I haven't run to Windows 10 Pro on this thing, even though it's free.
I just feel like browsers are such a habit, right? Like I'm just like, of course I want Chrome. I always use Chrome. But why do I always use Chrome?
Yeah. It's to break you of that.
Well, I mean, by the way, I think I mentioned this last week, but there are a lot of little things in Edge that add up over time, and you can select text and right click and 1, 2. Oh, there's the pop-up menu. I mean, some of this stuff does actually happen really slowly. I think one of the things I really like about Chrome is that it just works. You don't go looking for something else unless something's wrong.
Yeah, but remember that Chrome at one time was, had 0 users and emerged, and people switched to it, mostly from Internet Explorer.
But we were using Internet Explorer, so there was definitely something wrong.
True.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how are these new Surface devices doing, this laptop and so forth? Are they? Do we know anything about this? Has Microsoft said anything?
No, not Microsoft. But we get usage data through AdDuplex every month about Windows 10 devices, mobile and PC. And obviously lately it's been mostly PC because that's the way the world's going. And some interesting data there. I mean, first of all, everyone probably knows that when Surface Pro is by far the most popular form factor on Surface. And if you add up all the different versions of Pro, over 80% of all Surface devices in use are some version of Surface Pro. If you add Surface 3, which is arguably a low-end Pro, it's 92.1%. So this form factor is the version. What's interesting is that for the two new devices, the new Surface Pro and Surface Laptop, they're both already on the usage charts, despite the fact that they've been in market less than 2 weeks. And so already 2.2% of all Surface devices in use are the new version of Surface Pro. That's actually kind of incredible. I mean, it's just a couple of weeks.
I'm surprised by that number.
Yeah. Surface Laptop is only 0.4%, for example. But I guess to put this in perspective, it's like what is it? The first generation Surface Pro, which is what, 4 or 5 years old, whatever it is 6.7%, and the second gen device is 4.8%. So it's still, they're not quite there yet. But seriously, 2 weeks is pretty amazing. And Surface Studio is only 0.1%. Although, as Brad pointed out to me today, they really can only gauge this usage through it's basically ads and UWP apps, and so a Surface Studio user might be less inclined, to run UWP apps. So okay, fair, but still, I find these numbers to be high given the the length of time they've been in the market. So that's kind of interesting. So I don't think it's any surprise. I had said ahead of the launch of the laptop that I expected Surface Laptop to become Microsoft's best-selling Surface device. Having now actually used both, I'm kind of wondering. I bet it's going to be a little bit more of a toss-up, but I think both of these devices are going to do really, really well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like my Lenovo better, but I'm not necessarily the market. And I do love the Studio, and of course, obviously.
Well, no, I mean, it's probably fair to say that HP, Lenovo, Dell, whoever, are all going to, have.
It's really competitive right now because we're seeing some amazing. I mean, look at those new EliteBooks from HP. Look at we just got a Toshiba Portage, and it's even great. So
I almost it was why someone asked today. Why doesn't the Surface Laptop fold around or lay flat? Blah, blah, whatever. I mean, you almost feel like Microsoft is purposely giving the rest of the market an opportunity to differentiate. The Surface Pro is a great example of, they don't adopt the next gen connector technology, but everyone else does. And then each of those devices has some other advantage over Microsoft. So, yeah, it could be part of a master plan.
Yeah.
Or they're idiots. I don't know. It's one of the two.
Now, come on, Paul. Come on. After Donna Sakar said such nice things about you.
Well, I did the Bill Keane thing there, right?
Yeah,
I provided both possibilities.
Welcome to our dysfunctional family. Circus.
Yep.
Microsoft delays guest access in Teams.
Oh, I know. This is
a feature they talked about.
It is, and one that a lot of people really want. So guest
Slack
access
and other features.
Slack has guest access, obviously. Yeah. Yep. So, in fact, I think it was the last Windows Weekly or one of the last two, I was telling people, don't worry, guest access is right around the corner because Microsoft said it would be out before the end of June to Office 365 customers. Well, they kind of snuck into their tech community blog post. We thought we were going to hit June, but we're not. It's going to take a bit longer. They don't say how much longer. My guess is not a whole lot longer, maybe July, but I know there are a bunch of people who are not deploying Teams because they're waiting for guest access. And so it's not here yet, and I don't have a date for you, and they won't give me a date. My guess, maybe July, because Partner Show is coming up, and that would be a really nice announcement to make at the Partner Show. So if you're waiting, sorry, not here, not coming this week like we thought.
What do you think Teams adoption's been pretty strong? Again,
I'm mostly hearing good stuff.
I mean, that's a tough market.
I'm mostly hearing positives about it.
Yeah. And hell has frozen over.
Oh, am I using Teams? Oh, I see.
No, that's now when you start using SUSE in your LWS, then I'll be impressed.
If it was Debian, I would think about it.
But no, actually. By the way, nice use of a Linux distro in a sentence.
Yep, I can pull those right out.
What was I going to say? Google has announced they're going to stop looking at your mail. Gmail man is
this is
on his way
disappointing. This makes me want to go back to Outlook.com. So it was funny. They kind of buried this in an email, a blog post about bringing together the traditional kind of consumer version of Gmail and then the version you get with G Suite, and which sounds like Toot Suite when I say it that way. But anyway, this was the source of Microsoft's many complaints through the Gmail man and then the Scroogle ad campaigns, which I found to be so brilliant. And
God bless him.
God, I still miss that guy so much.
Jeez, give up.
What was his name? Mark
Mark
was his
Penn.
name?
Mark Penn.
Mark Penn.
The evil Mark Penn.
Yeah, I can still smell the sulfur when I say his name.
Yeah.
Mark Penn.
Oh.
Time for the gong.
Time for the gong.
So
Where is Mark Penn these days?
But yeah,
I think he's in the
went back to being a
seventh circle of hell,
lobbyist.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
went back to
Hillary
being a
Clinton's
lobbyist.
pollster.
You got to play to your strengths, you know. And when you're, the Antichrist foot dog or whatever.
He's probably a nice guy.
I tried to find out. I told you that time. I think it was the Surface Pro 3 launch. I went over to talk to him, and then he disappeared in a cloud of smoke before I could get there.
He did.
He worked for Tony Blair. He worked for Bill Clinton. Actually, he worked for Bill Gates as a pollster.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I guess that's how he got in at Burst and Marsteller, and of course then Microsoft.
Yeah.
But I guess he's retired. He doesn't.
I think he went to a private equity firm.
Oh, that's where they all end up, isn't it?
I know, or something like that. I'm trying to find him
He's
now.
apparently, according to his website, founder and president of, get this, a revolutionary holding company.
Here's what's awesome about that photo. It is apparently the only photo of him known to man, because that was his official Microsoft photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. He discovered the soccer mom.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know where she was.
He was sitting in a van with binoculars.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. He advises top political leaders around the world, according to.
I would like him to become an advisor for Windows Weekly. What do we have to do?
Mark, how do we turn this show around, Mark? We need your help.
Oh, Paul.
What I want to do is I want to make money, but I don't want people to know how I make it.
Paul, you've succeeded. People ask me that all the time. How does Paul make money?
Oh, well, in very small amounts, Leo.
You add those pennies up.
They're called microtransactions.
Pretty soon you have dollars. And then watch out. Let's change the subject to something everybody's interested in. Server news.
Woo!
Woo!
Yes.
Mary Jo Foley.
Okay. Yes. So this is the thing you were asking about, Leo, which is security updates coming to Fall Creators Update.
Oh, yes.
Yep. So Microsoft talked this week about some of the, because so far we haven't heard almost any business features coming to the Fall Creators Update. Like we've heard, like we said, stickers, emoji, right? Some handwriting stuff, which some business users care about. But what they really care about is security. And Microsoft did a whole blog post about here's what we're going to add on the security front to Windows 10 with the Fall Creators Update. They also, the reason this is under server news, this is also going to be coming to Windows Server 2016, which is getting its first feature update at the same time as we see the Fall Creators Update. So we talked about that before. Microsoft's starting to do the two times a year feature updates for server, just like client. And so this one that's coming this fall is going to get these same features. So here's what the features are. And I should also say, the only people who are going to get them in Windows 10 are Windows 10 enterprise users. So if you're using Pro or Home, you're not going to get these. It's all features revolving basically around Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, which is known as Windows Defender ATP. That is a threat detection and prevention service that's part of Windows 10 Enterprise. So we found out this week that Windows Defender ATP is not just one service. Microsoft is now calling it a suite of services. So that technology that we heard about before that was codename Barcelona, which is known as Windows Defender Application Guard, is also going to be in the Fall Creators Update. We weren't sure if that was going to be in the spring or in the fall, but now we know for sure fall. And that's that feature that if you go to a website in Edge and you are about to download malware, ransomware, you're doing something that's going to cause a problem on your PC or on your network, this is going to contain that and basically destroy it. That's what Windows Defender Application Guard is. So that's going to be part of the Fall Creators Update. Microsoft also is going back and taking the technology it called the Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit and rolling that right into the operating system. If you remember last year, Microsoft said, we're going to discontinue supporting this toolkit because Windows 10 is so secure, we don't need it. So now we're hearing a different story. No, now we're going to take Emmett.
Hubris. Hubris
Emmett,
called.
Yes. Emmett is going to be rolled right into the operating system itself, into the core of it. And Microsoft's going to call this feature with some extra stuff added in Windows Defender Exploit Guard. So that's going to be in Fall Creators Update. Microsoft's also going to make some more updates to its antivirus protection that's in Defender Advanced Threat Protection. And they're going to add some new analytics, some new management capabilities to Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection 2. So there'll be a way to monitor Windows 10 security patch status across all your Windows 10 installations using some new technologies they're adding in. So it's all this really interesting security stuff. But again, the only people who are going to see it are people who are using Windows 10 Enterprise and or Windows Server 2016 with this feature update. So that's what's coming.
And so what I gathered was that some of these capabilities have already been re-added, but this is really a way to control it and see it.
Yeah. So they're going to use the souped up analytics that are in it to make it easier for you as an administrator to see all these different things going on with security inside your Windows 10 systems. That's a big part of what they're doing here.
Well, and will end users have this capability, or do you have to be?
No. Enterprise only. I mean, if you're Home or Pro, even Pro, you're not going to get it. You have to upgrade to Enterprise to get these things.
That's kind of too bad.
Yeah, some people on Twitter were like, if Microsoft really cared about security, they'd make this available to everyone.
Sure.
Well,
not everyone, not everybody would be able to use it or get it.
I know.
But there are some of us who might.
Yep.
Right?
So their
I liken this to the safety features in cars, right? They appear first in luxury models, for which you pay a lot of money.
Then they take them out, and then people die. And then they put them back in, but they don't give you any control of it. And then they give control only to the experts.
Yeah.
That was a slightly different direction I was going in, but fair enough.
But yeah, I agree. Like maybe someday some of this stuff will trickle down into Pro at least. But for now, Microsoft can get money by saying you need Enterprise if you want all this cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that makes, and that's an Enterprise feature. So that kind of makes sense.
Is.
You can't.
Oh, the other thing I didn't mention is
not Alcantara headliners or something like that.
More cloud intelligence, because you can't have a Microsoft pitch these days without cloud intelligence, right? So they've got this thing they call the Intelligence Security Graph. And so they're going to be using that to also make Windows 10 Defender Advanced Threat Protection able to predict possible attacks. So right now, what it can do is it can see the attacks and help mitigate the attacks, but now it's also going to help predict when an attack might hit. So that's going to be also part of the Fall Creators Update.
It's like a phone call from the future.
So, Paul,
hey, Paul, this is future Paul. Listen, you're about to get attacked.
Do you think it will migrate down to normal users, Paul? I mean,
well, actually, the last thing she said, I think, is the best hope that we have for that kind of thing, because the machine learning, cloud-based threat prediction type stuff is actually kind of interesting. It's allowing software to predict that something might be malware or become malware is kind of interesting, right? You could picture that kind of thing maybe coming down. A lot of this stuff requires just enterprise infrastructure, and that's part of the problem.
That makes sense too, yeah.
It does. Yeah. Like what if your service could have said to you, hey, there's this thing that's starting to percolate called WannaCry.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We noticed you have SMB1 enabled on your PC for some reason. Let's get that fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tells you like these PCs on your network still have SMB1.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You might want to go fix that.
I'm sure there are third-party tools that already do stuff like that.
Yeah, I would bet.
Yeah. But it should be,
but Windows is not particularly friendly to third-party tools, Leo. You know that.
I hear that they're about to release Windows 98 Power Grid version. For all those power plants running Windows 98, this is going to be a huge, huge upgrade.
Yikes. Yikes.
Okay. Oh, they've upgraded XP, I'm told. Okay, that's good news. Did you talk about Nano Server? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, let's
May
hear
I?
that. Let's.
Okay.
We're on a roll.
Yeah. One more bit of server news. And this is something Microsoft announced a couple weeks ago. And I gave it like one sentence in a blog post. But I realized that a lot of people didn't see it in Microsoft's post or mine. So I wanted to say more about it. So with Windows Server 2016, Microsoft introduced something called Nano Server, which was a new installation option that was supposed to be like the future of Windows Server. So, we said Windows 10S was the future of Windows Client. Nano Server was supposed to be the future of Windows Server. It was a really, really stripped down version of Server, no GUI at all, like none. And Microsoft was really pushing this as, this is the way you guys want to go, smaller attack surface, only 1/20th the size of Windows Server Core. You'd only have to install the essential server components like Hyper-V and clustering and networking storage, that kind of stuff. But last week they said, we're going to change this. And they didn't really give us a total answer why they're changing it. Aidan Finn, who does some really good stuff over at Petri.com, said he didn't think people were adopting it. And so Microsoft went back to the drawing board and said, okay, we got to change Nano Server. I don't know if that's the reason, but he made a good case for that. And what Microsoft said was, in the future, Nano Server will be available only as a container-based OS image. So from now on, Nano Server, starting with this September release of Windows Server 2016 that's coming, it'll only be for containers. And Microsoft's going to take a bunch of the things out of it that were in it, and they're going to reposition it, basically. So if you were one of the people who was using Nano Server, you need to go back and look at what is going to change with this release, because quite a few things are, and I've got it in my blog post, and so does Aidan over at Petri. But if you haven't used Nano Server, but you're doing container work and microservices work, you may want to now look at it again, because this is going to be the sole focus of Nano Server going forward. So if you care about server, go check out the changes coming to Nano Server, because they are very comprehensive and large. There you go.
Now
Nano
we're
Server.
wake up Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are we back?
Well, and as you know, Paul, there is not a thing that happens in life that Family Circus hasn't commented on. And here's little Paulie saying, "I wouldn't get this dirty if you just let me play my Xbox." So
Here
Paul, let's play Xbox.
Just a couple of quick notes on the Xbox today.
Paul's ignoring me. Okay, go ahead.
Moving past Bill Keane and his special brand of evil. I don't know why it was kind of revealed to a random tech blog, but Microsoft did say this week or last week, whenever they said it, doesn't matter, that they will actually download different assets depending on which Xbox console you have. So if you have an Xbox One or an Xbox One S, you'll get the 1080p versions of games and add-ons and so forth. And if you have an Xbox One X, you'll get the 4K version, right? So that you don't have to download some humongous thing just because you don't have a 4K
Oh, that's good.
console.
That's good.
It makes sense, right? It's the way mobile platforms work as well, and it's the right way to do it. But I guess it's not just graphical assets as well. It also has to do with
code,
sound, and other things. So there's a bunch of stuff. They're actually going to do dynamic downloads, or I should say, assuming the publisher supports it, because the publisher has to support it. But Microsoft will allow for this in their platform. So I think that's cool. So if you were worried about that kind of thing, and maybe you should be, frankly, hopefully that won't be a problem.
We're in the middle of the ocean during E3 with very little internet access.
Yeah.
But I was with two teenagers who were furiously reloading. And I said, okay, what's the news? What's the news? 1X. Okay, tell me more. And I don't know if we've talked about it since E3. I'm excited about it. $500 though is a little.
That was a Sunday night, and I was supposed to get home from Pennsylvania to do this from home. We were going to kind of live tweet it, and I got stuck in traffic. So I kind of tweeted. I was like, I'm not going to be able to cover this. I'm stuck in a car, and so I had one phone on the dashboard that was playing the live stream. And then I was on my other phone tweeting, and I ended up actually tweeting the whole thing from my phone.
In the car.
Yeah, in the
car.
Driving. I wasn't driving.
Oh, good.
I let my wife drive, which is only slightly less dangerous than me driving and tweeting, frankly, but it worked out okay.
So is it September? When can I get my 1X? I can't wait. I know it's expensive, but
November, isn't it?
November. Oh, birthday time.
November?
I want one from my birthday.
I should know that. What is the date?
All I remember is $500 and kind of choking at that.
Yeah.
November 10th.
Oh, November 10th.
Right?
Yeah. $500, and could I just pay that now, please?
And you don't have this in your notes, but I thought Mary Jo would be very interested to know that Cuphead.
I knew you were going to bring up Cuphead.
So, Mary Jo, on your Windows 10S laptop, when you go to the Windows Store, you will see it heavily promoted.
Yes.
Cuphead?
Maybe this is how we get Mary Jo into Xbox. She could play Cuphead on her Windows laptop.
September 29th, everybody. You can't?
Can you play the actual game on Windows 10?
Yeah, it's on Steam, yeah.
It's a Play Anywhere title.
It's on Steam. Xbox One, Windows 10. And
I thought it was a Play. I'm sorry.
No, it's Steam. Yeah.
No, but you can get it in the store, too. It's in the store. I've seen it advertised.
Yeah, it says, it looks like it is. It's a thrilling game.
So, how long have we
for
talked about
years?
Cuphead?
Oh, for years.
Like
this has been
right?
delayed many years. Yeah, 2 years. So, no, it's a Play Anywhere title. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Which means, so it's not 4K.
No, but it's.
I think it's like a half K.
I know it's got the little, the bobbing cartoon guys like from the old cartoons.
Yeah, and the trailer's got full of dust and hairs on the the film and Cuphead.
It's like a Cinemore game almost.
I can't wait till this comes out. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, and I know Mary Jo is finally going to become a gamer.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, because if you haven't had an epileptic fit or
epileptic, it kind of reminds me. It's
this is it.
It's kind of like Crazy Cat, or it's one of these like 30s cartoon styles.
Yeah, well, like the original Steamboat Willie. The guy kind of bumped up and down.
Yeah, Steamboat Willie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's cool.
So are you? I guess you're going to buy the new Xbox One X right away, right?
Yeah, like I said, I would do it right now if I could buy this thing now.
I know. I got a 1S. Last year.
I know. It's been a year. I know. I need another one. Let's go.
Did they announce exclusive games for it?
Yes, but the way Microsoft does exclusive games is there's no such thing as an exclusive for the Xbox One S, right? It's Xbox exclusive, so it could be Xbox One, Xbox One X.
Sense. Yeah,
it could be Windows as well. Yeah,
that's fine. Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered.
Yeah, this has been a weird year for me because last year they packed in Modern Warfare Remastered with Infinite Warfare, some versions of it, and I've actually just been playing that ever since, even though 9 years ago, whenever it was out the first time, I did the same thing. So it's excellent, so they're going to make it available standalone, which makes sense. It's going to be PlayStation, which is not surprising because everything Call of Duty goes PlayStation first. So starting, I think it's next month, and it might be as soon as next week even, or the week after, you'll be able to buy the game, just that game, and not have to buy a version of Infinite Warfare. And then a month later, it will come out on PC and Xbox, which is great, but they're charging $40 for this thing. And you still have to buy the map pack to get all the additional games, and that's an additional $15. And now it's $55, and that's the cost of a brand new game. That's crazy. So that's too bad. It's too expensive.
And that concludes the Xbox news. Woo, Mary Jo. See, it's like kids. I have to give each of them their time.
You do.
And then we.
It's not fair. She had longer than I had. It's not fair.
Not fair. Next time, I'm going to cut the show in half. I'll let you cut the show in half, Paul, and then I'll let Mary Jo choose which half she wants.
Nice.
It's that little parent hack.
You can tell experienced parents.
Tip of the week, Mr. Paul Thurrott. We don't have any ads, so we'll go right to the back of the book.
Yeah. So I have a couple tips. The big one is I know a lot of people are looking forward to the Nokia 6, and we found out this week that it will be available in the United States starting in July through Amazon.com. $230. It's a mid-level phone, but $230 is actually a great price for a clean Android phone. It's got some Nokia styling cues and so forth. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, that's compelling. By the way, one note has just completely crashed on me. All right, so
I wonder because it's such a good deal. Oh, really? Mine's not crashed yet because I'm using the fabulous Windows 10s, which never crashes without Alcantara. It's an Amazon Prime deal, which means is this going to be one of those where you have ads from Amazon?
Yes. So actually, you can pre-order it right now for $230. No ad. It's just normal. It's unlocked. It's GSM. It works everywhere except Verizon and Sprint. But if you want to save $50, you can get it for one. And you have to be a Prime member, right? So Amazon has those Amazon Prime phones. $180. It has lock screen ads and offers. It's like on a Kindle or an e-reader, that kind of thing. You can at any time pay the $50 and remove the ads. So if you don't want that, you can.
That's interesting. If it gets annoying,
fix it. So, it might be worth trying just to see what it's like.
$180 is such a good price. It's kind of a mid-grade phone. Yep. It's not.
No, I know, but a mid-level phone would typically cost maybe $300 or it's a really good price. So I know there are Nokia fans out there, and this might be of interest. So it's something to know about. Yeah. The other tip I have, just a short one, is that earlier this week Microsoft has a promotion where you could buy any ebook from the Microsoft Edge ebook store, like we all do, and then you get a $5 Windows Store gift code for free. So I thought, well, what's the cheapest book you could buy? So the cheapest one I could find was 99 cents. But actually, since then, I found out that you can buy like the Constitution for like 50 cents or something. So my advice is buy one of those books.
Cheapened the Constitution, haven't they?
Yeah, don't ever read books in Microsoft Edge. That's silly. But buy the book, and then you're going to get a $4 and whatever gift code in the mail sometime soon. So it's 7 to 10 days or whatever. But I bought a book about Sammy Davis Jr. It was 99 cents. It was well worth the price.
There you go.
I'm a big fan of the Rat Pack, but I'm still never going to read that book on Microsoft Edge because that's ludicrous.
Is it What Makes Sammy Run?
I can't remember what it was. No.
Are you going to read it or just kind of did
No, I'm not going to read it. I just did it to get it in there. Well, it's okay because I write about this stuff.
If you're not going to read it, you should have just bought the U.S. Constitution.
I didn't know about it when I bought it.
Nobody's reading that either. Yeah.
No, but now it can be in my screenshots when I do ebook stories. That's okay.
There you go.
The $99. It's an investment.
It's an investment. You can deduct it now.
And then for my app pick, speaking of Microsoft Edge, Mary Jo and I think both got this email today from a developer of something called Instant Translate, I should say, which is a new Microsoft Edge extension. And what this allows you to do is select text in the browser, and then it will do like a pop-up translation right in place.
Oh, that's nice.
Using
Bing Translator?
I actually have no idea. That's a good question.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, how do they actually do it?
Doesn't say.
I do not know.
Look like it says.
Because there is a Bing Translate.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's also Google Translate.
Yep. Well, I mean, for Microsoft Edge specifically. So
you could just.
This one is just a little more nuanced. Allows you to do different things. But the big one, I think, is just select a body of text and say, what is this thing? And it just kind of does it for that selection. So that's pretty cool.
Mary Jo Foley has an enterprise pick of the week.
Yes, my enterprise pick has to do with Dynamics 365, which is Microsoft's CRM and ERP line of products. So this was kind of interesting. Last week, Microsoft had a briefing for their partners about futures for Dynamics 365. And unlike previous briefings they've done like this was totally not under NDA. So all the partners who are watching these briefings were tweeting and taking pictures of the slides and posting them. Microsoft never wrote a blog post about this, but the partners all wrote about it. And one of the interesting pieces of what was announced to partners was there are 2 apps that are missing in this suite that are for small and mid-sized businesses. One is for sales, one is for marketing, and they're both part of Dynamics 365 for business. They've been in development for a while, and according to Microsoft's roadmap from last year, they were supposed to be out in the first half of this year. They told partners last week that they will be out, those 2 apps will be out, but not in any form other than private previews in July. So obviously these 2 apps are running late. A lot of people had been waiting for them because they said, all of the pieces of the enterprise suite are there now for Dynamics 365, but the parts for the small and mid-sized businesses are not all there. And we don't know why the delay is happening, but we do know now that these are delayed beyond what people had been hoping and waiting for. we don't have a GA date for these two apps, but at least we kind of have an update on where they're at in bringing these to market. So I think next week, no, not next week, in 2 weeks, when Microsoft has its big partner show, we're going to hear a whole lot about Dynamics 365. If you want kind of a little preview of some of the things we might hear, go and look at my article because I've got some links to some of the partners who blogged about this stuff. And there are a lot of other pieces, but those two apps are what really stood out to me from those partner briefings.
Nice.
That's the enterprise pick.
Enterprise. Do we have a code name?
Yeah, so this is related to Dynamics 365. That team always, in the past when it was CRM and ERP, had a lot of interesting code names. So I'm hearing the July release of Dynamics 365, I guess those apps I just mentioned will be part of this, is Potassium for some reason. Any thoughts from you guys about why it might be codename Potassium? Any other games where that figures?
What is the atomic symbol for potassium? Is what, K?
Yep.
Does that have anything to do with anything? K?
I don't know.
I know I get leg cramps when I don't have enough potassium.
You could eat a banana.
Yes.
There's lots of potassium in bananas.
Yep. Right. Orange juice also.
Orange juice full of potassium.
Yep.
Okay, we pretty much exhausted all the possibles.
That's it. Yeah. But here's another clue. And the version of Dynamics 365 after that, which I guess will be the fall update or whatever they're calling that now, is Calcium.
Oh.
So they're obviously using it's not obvious.
These are
periodic table of the elements.
No, I think
or
these
they're
are
reading
all
a
vitamins.
vitamin.
Yeah, they're all vitamins
vitamin
in
label.
Lucky Charms. I think somebody's a Lucky Charms fan.
I miss city names. Can I just say that?
Yeah,
I know.
that was easy.
City
or
names are good.
landmarks.
Yeah. Whiskey code names were good too.
Whiskey, always good. Always good to have some
Rivers
whiskey.
of North America.
Wait, isn't that Intel? No, I don't like their code names.
Cool. Do you want to do some beer?
Yeah.
As the bishop said to the
You have no idea.
My beer pick of the week is back to the U.S. for this one. Hershey, Pennsylvania has an excellent brewery.
It better be a chocolate stout.
Troeg's. No, not a chocolate stout.
Oh.
Troeg's Brewing is based in Hershey, Pennsylvania. They make a lot of really great beers. There's one that's out right now called Troeg's Nimble Giant.
Oh, look at that.
It's excellent.
Man, you are stuck on IPAs.
It's a double IPA. In case you can't get enough hops.
She was like throwing these in my face in Harlem. It was
I was. I'm like, here, smell this, and Paul's face would be like,
oh, it was like kryptonite.
But this one, if you like pineapple,
if you like a citrus bomb.
You like a citrus bomb.
It's a pineapple flavored beer.
It's not. It doesn't have pineapple in it, but a lot of the newer IPAs taste like grapefruit and pineapple and mango. They just taste that way because of what they do with hops and the yeast.
Yeah.
Yep. And this one, if you have a chance, Nimble Giant, I highly recommend it as it's a bomb. It's definitely a citrus bomb, but it's a delicious citrus bomb.
Yum, yum, yum.
Oh, we should mention, since I mentioned Inspire, the Microsoft Partner Show, we've got something coming up for Inspire.
What is that?
We're going to be doing Windows Weekly live from Washington, D.C. on July 12th.
Are so peripatetic. I
will need to look that word up and let me see if that's complimentary or not.
We're always running everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So
you can use that in your
we're
novel, Paul. Go ahead.
Yes. Or in his next field guide.
Elderly, thank you very much.
Next field guide.
That's exciting. July 12th, you're going to be in D.C.
We are. This is Microsoft's worldwide partner show called Inspire now. It used to just be called the Worldwide Partner Show. But we're going to be doing Windows Weekly live from the show, and we're probably going to have some special guests on the show.
Fun. And, of course, the climate in D.C. is perfect in July.
So perfect in July.
Yeah. Get your malaria shots. That's all I'm saying.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if this matters, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to be there. But
I know.
I think I'm going to be in Pennsylvania that week. So what I'm going to try to do is just go for the one day.
Are you moving? Are you moving that day?
No, but we have stuff we have to do with my daughter in school, and it's kind of complicated. But anyway, I'm going to try to be there. But I had to bail out of the full week, which I was originally doing and I'm going to see if I can spend the day.
Okay.
And of course, the show will go on wherever Paul is.
Will.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it from wherever. But yeah.
Good, July 12th. That will be a week from. That's 2 weeks from today.
Yep.
Fun. Paul Thurrott, you can find him not only in Pennsylvania and Dedham
and Harlem, but also at Thurrott.com. THURRO.com. It's the place Paul Thurrott has made his home with an occasional appearance from Brad Sams. And almost
and
1 hour and 47 minutes in.
Yeah. Brad has he's got a presence about him. You can also find his books at leanpub.com, including the Windows 10 Field Guide, which obviously Leos needs to read. I wouldn't be asking Paul these texts.
That's okay. I can just do a reading from the Windows 10 Field Guide.
Chapter 43.
And then Microsoft did unto the Corinthians.
Mary Jo Foley does her thing at ZDNet. Allaboutmicrosoft.com is the easy way to find her regular posts all about Microsoft. And together they make it Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. If you want to stop by, we'd love to see you. You can be in the chat room, too, at irc.twit.tv. But as always, on-demand versions of the show are available online at our website, twit.tv/dubdub. You can get them on YouTube, too. And we've got a YouTube channel for Windows Weekly. And we also, of course, encourage you to find your favorite podcast downloader and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And we will be back next week, the 5th of July. Are you two doing anything? You going to blow anything up for the 4th?
Yeah.
Yay. Paul, if you're moving to Pennsylvania, I think there's some, I don't know, I think you need to do something.
You know, they sell fireworks in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I know.
We can't buy them here.
You can
we value human life too much.
You can it's one of my great friends is from Pennsylvania and has great tales of blowing things up back in the back 40s.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to blowing things up. That will be nice.
It's awesome. Alex Lindsay says, get yourself a couple of mortars. You really could but don't, whatever you do, put your head over the mortar after you light it. That's a bad idea.
No.
Mark, would you see if that thing lit?
No. Have a great 4th. We'll see you on the 5th.
Yeah,
on Windows. Thank you. Bye-bye.